I think you look at a guy like, I'm a Yankee fan, so I'm a little biased,
Right.
but Andy Pettitte
Sure.
is a guy who.
Yes.
Oh my God! There's a mouse in my apartment. Holy shit! Oh my God! Oh my God! This is sorry. I'm sorry. Holy shit! Oh my God! He's so small.
Welcome to 99 and 25. I'm John Brooks, and joining me today, I'm very happy to say, is longtime friend of the show, friend of the podcast network, friend of the podcasts, Tyler
Friend
Berth.
of the podcasters. I hope, right?
Boyfriend of previous guest himself, all kinds of friends. Tyler, how's it going?
It's good. We've been a little sick in my household for like 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
So it's
all those conventions.
I'm not sure if Heather was at San Diego Comic-Con whenever that took place, and she came home fine, and I came down with strep throat, and I feel like we've just been passing it back and forth for weeks. So that sinus infections, upper respiratory stuff, it's just swell over here. But no, I'm good.
One of my daughters had strep throat 3 times in 4 months in the last.
It's a bad look because I work for ENT doctors, so it's not a great look if the marketing guy is coming down with strep throat and sinus infections. It's not a great endorsement.
Well, but then you could just be like, but they make me so much better.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Thank God I work here, top of the line guys to help me with this thing.
I had to get Heather in today, actually, emergency appointment. So
great,
helps to know people. I can pull some strings, call in some favors.
And we got a monkeypox and bird flu epidemic right around the corner. So
please don't, please don't put that out into the universe.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's fine. We'll be fine. Everything's fine.
So fine last time.
We're good. Well, okay. So, look, yes, 1 million people died. Whatever. Okay, sure. But we did get the vaccine real quick. And we learned a lot about how to make vaccines real quick, which I think is great. So I think there's a bright spot to the possible next pandemic. Are a lot of Republicans not going to take the vaccine and die? Probably. I don't know.
Darwin says that's A-okay,
Hey, listen. You said it, not me. All right. We got a lot to cover this episode. A lot of fun stuff and not so fun stuff, as usual, to cover for August 1st through the 15th of 1999. Big time at the movies, as you may already know. But we're going to go through some of my favorites, some ones we've covered on the show, some big ones we have not covered on the show. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about here. But we're going to dig into the movies first, and we're going to start on August the 4th, when we get a few real good ones. We get Andrew Fleming's political satire, Dick, one of the real popular titles of the show. We've had guests who really want to be on that episode when we eventually get around to it. And we will. I love that movie, but we have not talked about it yet. But starring Queen of 1999, Kirsten Dunst, Michelle Williams, Dan Hedaya, Bruce McCulloch, Will Ferrell, Terry Garr, Dave Foley, Harry Shearer, Ted McGinley, Devin Gummersall, Jim Brewer, French Stewart, and an up-and-coming young whippersnapper named Ryan Reynolds.
Who?
Yeah.
I'm only here for Jim Brewer. It's so funny and relevant, very relevant.
You heard it here first, folks. Tyler Berth, giant Jim Brewer fan. Have you seen Dick? Are you a Dick fan?
No. Don't take that out of context.
Are you big into Dick?
No. I don't have enough experience with Dick to really know. I experimented in college, but I never really. No. No. So I was full disclosure. I was 11 in 1999.
Yep.
So I don't believe I was the target audience.
No.
I have seen several of the films, later on, but this is unfortunately a gap in my resume.
Yeah, it's interesting because as I was going through the movies that came out in this period, there's a lot of the 99 movies that are now very popular that were like misses at the time. And Dick is certainly, Dick is like almost, it's up there with Drop Dead Gorgeous of movies that are enormously popular with a very specific set of people right now that like just were not playing to the audience at the time for whatever reason. We'll get to that one eventually, but a bigger one, speaking of box office duds that are now beloved classics, the same day Brad Bird's The Iron Giant, starring Vin Diesel, Eli Marienthal, Jennifer Aniston, Harry Connick Jr., James Gammon, Cloris Leachman, John Mahoney, Christopher McDonald, and M. Emmett Walsh. Brad Bird, of course, would then go on to enormous success pretty soon after, a couple years later, with The Incredibles, as he joined Pixar and made a bunch of great Pixar movies and made a name for himself. And I think after The Incredibles, people started revisiting The Iron Giant, which is great because it's a great fucking movie. But again, for whatever reason, because it was a hand-drawn animated film that was not Disney, it also just did not catch on, but is universally beloved now. Now, I'm sure you've seen The Iron Giant at this point.
I have, and I did see it around that time. I think I saw it after the fact, maybe on VHS, I want to say.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And again, I feel like there was that barrier to entry because it's not Disney. So we just feel like by default, it's second rate, right? As kids, we're like, we want the Disney. We don't want the DreamWorks. We don't want the other studios on the periphery, right? We want that name brand. And there's a ton of movies that I missed out on as a kid that I feel like, now I'm 36 years old. It's kind of hard to go back and watch something intended for a child in 1999, but it's like, these are really, and I saw it at the time and I really enjoyed it. And it kind of opened up my world a bit, even as an 11-year-old, 12-year-old.
Yeah.
I was like, there's more to life than Disney animation. There's more animated films than Disney. There are other studios, which I couldn't conceive as a child. I was like, Disney makes the cartoon movies. That's it.
And I think, I think that prejudice was real. I really do. Like Disney owned, because so many studios, I mean, like when Don Bluth left Disney and made a bunch of like semi-okay movies in his career, right? I think Don Bluth sort of set himself up as like the breakaway from Disney doing the hand-drawn animation thing, but then also I think sort of cast every movie that was hand-drawn animation and not Disney in a kind of like a second tier sort of light. And so it's sort of, and especially, we have, this is also like, it's worth mentioning Toy Story 2 comes out the same year. So we've already got Toy Story and Bug's Life at this point. The 3D animation thing, computer animation, is already sort of taking off. So it just like was really bad timing without the Disney moniker on it. But yeah, rightly, people have gone back and seen it for how great it is. And I watched it with my kids a few months ago and they loved it. And I still love it. It's still great. Like, it holds up so well. It's such a beautiful movie. And, yeah. I understand why it failed, but man, I'm glad it finally found its audience.
Yeah, and I remember that was one of the first movies I really noticed kind of like the CGI aspect of the animation, right? Because it didn't look fully, 2D. It looked
right.
There was something else going on, and I, like, again, as a child, I didn't know, but to see it, and I thought it looked great, and it holds up. It's still, as really you said, does. Your kids loved it. Like it still holds up. I haven't watched it in full. I haven't sat down and watched it since I was a kid, but I've seen bits and pieces here and there because my friends are showing it to their kids because it's it's such a great movie. It's so well done. It's so just heartfelt. I get a little emotional at the end, and then you see all the screws and everything. Spoiler alert, 25 years.
Oh, yeah. Well, when we do the episode, we'll get to that point. Yeah. That's coming down the pipe at some point in the not too distant future. All right. So on August the 6th, one of my favorite comedies ever, a movie we have covered already, Kinka Usher's superhero satire Mystery Men, starring Ben Stiller, Hank Azaria, Janine Garofalo, William H. Macy, Kel Mitchell, Paul Rubens, Wes Studi, Greg Kinnear, Jeffrey Rush, Lena Olin, Eddie Izzard, Artie Lang, Praz Mitchell, Claire Forlani, Tom Waits, Ricky Jay, and Jennifer Lewis, with appearances from Doug Jones, Dane Cook, Ricky Rockman, Mark Mothersbaugh, and Michael Bay, among others. I am very much on record as a giant Mystery Men fan. Recently someone was like, you won $1 million, you get to make, or $1 billion, you get to make 2 sequels to any movie. What's it going to be? And I was like, fucking Mystery Men, man. We got to like make them sequels. Yeah, a movie ahead of its time. It was a reasonable success, but man, this is a movie that I have spent a long time being like, you've never seen this movie? You must watch this movie.
Well, I must watch this movie, apparently, because I watched it again as a 12-year-old, right? When it was available for at-home media. And I was like, I didn't know what I was signing up for. And it wasn't what I expected. I thought it would be, like a slapstick kind of outright comedy. And again, it's very much a satire. And I haven't gone back and watched it as an adult with the perspective. I know. It's another big gap.
You're gonna love
it. The one thing I do remember is the official Smash Mouth music video was all scenes from that movie.
Yep.
And I thought it was hysterical. So again, definitely worth checking out as an adult, which I'm ashamed that I haven't, and I really am.
We talked about in the last episode because Mystery Men, while the music video for All-Star was Mystery Men centric and All-Star was heavily sort of featured around Mystery Men and appears in the movie, it was not actually the first movie to feature All-Star. It wasn't the first 1999 movie to feature All-Star. The first 1999 movie to feature All-Star was Inspector Gadget, starring Matthew Broderick, which came out the month before. So there you go. But yeah, All-Star is very much entwined with Mystery Men. Mystery Men is a movie that is like funniest the third time. It's like once you know all the lines that are about to happen and can sort of speak them along with the dialogue, like it's like Mr. Show. Like it's really funny the third time when you know what the jokes are going to be. Somehow that makes it funnier, but.
I feel like that'd be a great tagline for a movie. Like, you'll really love it the third time.
You'll love it the third time. Yeah. It's like once you've memorized the script, you're going to think
great
it's
marketing.
hilarious.
As a marketing guy,
it really
great
is.
Marketing.
Though,
See it 3 times and you'll really get it.
Well, it's got that like mystery, that like Rocky Horror Picture Show sort of vibe to it, right? Where it's like if you can like yell the lines as they're happening, it's like funnier, and it's part of the.
Have you ever? I'm assuming you've been to a stage show of that.
Oh, sure, of course, yeah.
Yes. Did you lie about being a virgin, or did you go up on stage and get hazed?
I mean, I was in college at the time, so there was no lie.
I went on a date in high school to the theater in Montclair. I can't remember what it's called.
And you were like, "What's a virgin?"
I was like, I'm definitely that in real life and for this, because I'm like 17. Who let us in here?
Sure. Yeah.
But I'll never forget that. And then when I told my parents that I was going on a date to see a stage show of Rocky Horror, they're like, "Oh, we did that 30 years ago when we were dating." So it's very cool to kind of do it again and see that it's still thriving, almost 50 years later, right? It's wild to think about, but.
Well, also August the 6th, Die Hard director John McTiernan's acclaimed remake of the Thomas Crown Affair with Pierce Brosnan, Rene Russo, Dennis Leary, Frankie Faison, Ben Gazzara, Mark Margolis, and in a bit of stunt casting, star of the original Faye Dunaway. It's a great movie. Another one we still haven't covered, but people talk about a lot when we do episodes and off mic and so on and so forth. So we will get to that one eventually too. I love that movie. It's super good. I haven't seen it in a very long time, and I'm kind of wondering how it holds up, but I can't imagine it ages too poorly because it is a very, very well crafted movie. And John McTiernan, of course, until he went to prison, was one of the great action directors of all time. So, not sure if I can speak to him as a person, but like
Judge guy the art, not the artist, right?
Movie. Can you imagine if John McTiernan like made a Marvel movie? That'd be so fucking good.
Again, as an 11-year-old, the Thomas Crown Affair somehow slipped by.
Yeah. But yes, it is made for grown-ups for sure.
Yes, yeah. Definitely made for grown-ups. And I will say, being a child, I was like, oh, James Bond is allowed to do other movies? That's weird. Is he James Bond in this movie?
He's like a James Bond if James Bond were an art thief. It's like literally what it is, right? Like it's very James Bond-esque. He's just on the other side of the law.
James Bond using his powers for evil would be a movie I would love to see, honestly.
But like Rene Russo also got a lot of props for being like a hot old lady in that, and she's like 35.
Yeah, there we go. This is the beauty standards, right? It's like, wow, she's aging like fine wine. She's already 31.
But she is very hot in that movie. So,
well, now I'm gonna have to Google that. Hold, please.
Okay. Rene Russo, Thomas Crown Affair.
How do we spell Rene? You know what? We'll figure it out.
R-E-N-E, just R-E-N-E.
Oh, see,
how old was she in 1999? I'm gonna guess she was 40. I'm gonna say she was 40.
Let's see. She's 70 now. Holy moly!
Oh, 25 years ago. So she was 40, she was 45. Okay, she was 45. That's not bad.
No, she looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's a picture from the Thomas Crown Affair. Yeah.
Very.
No, that works.
Yeah. So she was 45. That's not bad. Okay. No. Like, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm 45. I just turned 45. But like,
hey!
I'm not old. That's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. John Turturro's fanciful indie rom-com Illuminata also gets a limited release on the same day. Turturro stars, directs, and is co-written with Brandon Cole, based on Cole's play Imperfect Love, with cast including Turturro's wife, Catherine Borowitz, who rarely appears in movies. Ben Gazzara, again, very busy. Ben Gazzara in 3 movies, at least, in 1999, if you include this. Ben Gazzara was also in Summer of Sam, so he's in a bunch of stuff. Beverly D'Angelo, Susan Sarandon, Christopher Walken, Rufus Sewell, Bill Irwin, and Aida Turturro, who has not yet appeared in Sopranos, but would the next year, and thus become far more famous. I have not seen that movie nor heard of it, but it sounds really good, and I would like to check it out. But of course, the big one on this day, going on to become the shock second highest grossing film of the year behind only The Phantom Menace, M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense, starring Bruce Willis, Haley Joel Osment, and Toni Collette. So we're talking about Shyamalan again. I have not yet seen the movie that just came out, Trap, but I've heard people like it. So
I've heard, again, not to spoil anything, but I heard that there's no big twist, and it's a pretty much straightforward film, which maybe is the twist in and of itself.
Yeah.
You're expecting a twist and you don't get one. What a twist.
I'm here for the renaissance of Josh, what's his face?
Hartnett.
Josh Hartnett. The Hartnett-assance. He's also in the most recent season of The Bear, and he's shown up all over the place now.
Oh, I gotta watch that. That's on my list. My friend is a chef or former chef now. She got out. And she says that was the most accurate portrayal of a stressful, busy kitchen ever in media. So I take her word for it, and it's on the list.
Having worked in a kitchen, I get like PTSD watching The Bear. It's great. But I'm also just like, I hate it. Like, I hate it. Why do you like doing this? But it's also like, it's good. I mean, if you ever, a lot of people have worked in kitchens, which I think really helps in some capacity. And I think everybody sort of understands, if you've worked in a kitchen in any capacity, you kind of understand the pace and the stress. And so a lot of the sort of drama of the show really is about the like overwhelming stress of kitchen work. But yeah,
growing up, I was looking for a job when I turned 16, right? Because I wanted some money. My friends were working and getting cars and getting clothes and nice stuff, new shoes. And I was like, I gotta get me a piece of this. And I walked down to a local restaurant and I asked if I could help out, because they painted every year during Memorial Day that week. They shut down the restaurant, repainted everything, freshened it up, made it look nice. All in-house. All the employees did it. You could work for some extra money or you just have the week off. And they said, listen, we don't need help painting, but if you want to come bus tables when we reopen, you can do it. So I did that, and I ran food, and I did a little bit of hosting for about 7 years. And I'm a big proponent that everyone should have to work in a restaurant and in retail at some point, because you will never be mean to those people again.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, that's a It's a good way to say
Mandatory,
it.
not mandatory military service. That's that's a bridge too far for me.
No,
Mandatory retail and mandatory service
If
industry.
we want to make a functioning society, yeah, we should make that
100%.
like, yes, yeah, drafted into working as a dishwasher for 3 weeks.
I was drafted to Applebee's, so I'm going to do my time.
For your country. All right, so 11. Did you see 11 is old enough to see The Sixth Sense. Did you see that?
Let me tell you, we rented this from Blockbuster. It was an event in our household.
Okay.
My parents deemed that my brother and I were old enough. I was, again, 11 or 12. My brother was 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And I don't recall the rating. I want to say PG-13, but there is some obviously heavy themes, heavy imagery. But my parents kind of knew, I don't think they knew the twist, but they knew more or less what to expect. And, you talk about the biggest twist in cinema, right? You have Darth Vader and you have that. Those are like the big two for me growing up. It was like, I cannot believe this. How did I miss this? And then again, the second time you rewatch it, and it's not obviously not as novel because you won't be surprised, but you go through and see how carefully everything was laid out, and like the red doorknobs and this stuff and all the red things. You're like, holy shit, this is a masterpiece. Like we were blown away.
Yeah, it really is. Like it's more of a magic trick than it is a movie, and like but to his credit, like I think that the very sort of like human performances and the very well realized characters, layer it so that the magic trick is decorated with something that is like that feels deep and feels meaningful, right? Like it's not just because, like, I love The Prestige, but The Prestige is literally just a cinematic magic trick, right? It doesn't have the sort of pathos that The Sixth Sense has, right?
I do love that movie too.
And as precise as The Sixth Sense is, like, it really doesn't work without the spectacular performances at its core with Bruce Willis and Haley Joel Osment and Toni Collette. And also not Olivia Colman, the other one, Olivia
Williams
in The Sixth Sense.
Oh yes, okay, I do remember
her and Colman confused. I remember seeing The Sixth Sense, and I had no idea what the ending was, and then I saw it either the next day or 2 days later because I was like, I need to go rewatch it now and like figure out how I was tricked, and because I was like, surely at some point, right? And what's cool about it is that I recently I do at the school I teach at, I do a film criticism course at the end of the year for like a week, and 2 years ago we watched The Sixth Sense, and it has been long enough since that movie came out, and it's enough of like a relic that none of the kids knew what the ending was.
No way. That's a cool experience. That's so cool. That reminds me, so I play Fortnite with a bunch of college graduates now, but they're all about 22. And when these Star Wars items came to the Fortnite shop, my friend was like, I don't understand the hype. And I was like, what do you mean? You can be Anakin Skywalker. You could be, Han Solo. He's like, well, I've never seen them. I was like, and he didn't know. He didn't know. Somehow he avoided what has become so much a part of our pop culture, right? In the zeitgeist. He didn't know that twist was coming. So to watch it with him, and like, cool. I wasn't even watching a movie, I was watching him. I was like, oh my God, it's coming. Like, I try not to spoil it, but like to try to hide my excitement.
Yeah. And
then what happened again, he was like, no. Like, he was devastated. It was so cool. Like, so to have that experience with a class full of kids to watch that's something great. as dynamic as that, it's got to be such a cool feeling.
Yeah. And The Sixth Sense, I mean, if you imagine it like with the modern social media landscape, like, would not have worked. Like, one of my friends was one of the last people to like actually see it, because he for whatever reason, like, he never got to the movie theater to watch the movie when it came out. And this is also when on Craig Kilborn's show he was doing that thing where he just spoils movies. So my friend caught Craig Kilborn like giving away the end of The Sixth Sense. He's like, what? And I'm like, oh well, there goes that fucking movie for you, because sorry, man. But yeah, imagine that secret being kept in today's modern internet landscape. It wouldn't work. So yeah, there's something about the fact that social media was not what it was then
Yes.
than it is
Speaking of
now.
that, again, Heather was at Comic-Con in San Diego.
Yeah.
And before Deadpool and Wolverine was even out, someone spoiled it for her from like a press screening. I was like, that's a new level of low. That's a new. That's like, it's not even out for public consumption, and you're ruining it. Like, what an asshole.
I haven't seen it yet, and I know some stuff, but I don't think I know everything. So I feel like there's still stuff that I don't know. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna hold off on that.
Yeah,
but
it's fun. We enjoyed it. Not to get sidetracked, but it was.
Everybody I know who's seen it is like, it's fun. It's cool.
It's good. It's not it's not winning any Oscars, but I was thoroughly entertained for the whole movie.
The fan service stuff is very pleasing, apparently.
So. It is, and it's done well where it's over the top. Right. But it's not. It doesn't feel played out. Like every time, it's like, okay, this is good. This is fun.
Yeah, cool. All right. I still haven't watched the most. I'm told I need to see the most recent season of Loki, which I haven't done yet. So I gotta watch that, and then I gotta watch it. But I
didn't really care for the first season of Loki, and I loved the character, and I love Tom Hiddleston, and I was kind of like, this is fine, and there's some fun moments. The second season is excellent.
Okay, I loved the first season, so that bodes well.
Yeah,
that's
you'll enjoy it, and it's a quick watch. Cool. I watched it, and obviously I don't have kids, but so that's might take you a month to watch it, but it's a pretty quick watch.
We should get through it in like a week if we focus.
That's lofty goals, but good luck.
All right, cool. August the 13th, another one of my favorite comedies of all time, Frank Oz's Bowfinger, written by Steve Martin and starring Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy, Heather Graham, Christine Baranski, Terrence Stamp, Robert Downey Jr., and Jamie Kennedy. Another movie I absolutely love. A return to form for Eddie Murphy, a movie that we have covered. We covered about a year and a bit ago. Actually, almost exactly a year ago, I think. Great movie. Bowfinger, box office, modest success, wasn't huge, but again, has found the right cult audience in the meantime and contains two of the funniest scenes of all time. Eddie Murphy running across a highway through traffic in Los Angeles, and a almost fully improvised scene where Eddie Murphy plays his own twin brother and gives a audition interview to Steve Martin where he improvised almost all of it, and it makes me cry laughing every time I watch it. So one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies, and one of my favorite Steve Martin movies, and it's fucking great. One of the two 1999 box office duds for Claire Danes alongside the Mod Squad, and a movie that forced her to apologize to an entire country, Jonathan Kaplan's Broke Down Palace, starring Claire Danes, Kate Beckinsale, Bill Pullman, Lim K. Tong, Lou Diamond Phillips, and in a small role, Paul Walker. How about that? Yeah, so Claire Danes had to apologize to the nation of Manila because in an interview in, I believe, Premiere Magazine. Yes. Yeah. So she is banned from the Philippines to this day. And it's because she said in an interview about the movie that the country smelled like cockroaches with rats all over, and there's no sewage system, and the people do not have anything. No arms, no legs, no eyes.
You know what? That's a little extreme. I was like, how bad could it be? That's pretty bad.
Yeah, and I don't think she meant that necessarily. I think she was probably like very tired while giving this interview, and like, I don't know, like probably, but just sort of like not really thinking straight, sounds like. But yeah. I don't think she literally thinks people in Manila like don't have eyes. I don't believe that that's true of Claire Danes. But yes, so she said that in an interview, and then had to apologize to the entire country, but still can't go to the Philippines to this day. And that is the most notable thing about Broke Down Palace, a movie that again people really seem to love from this year, and is sort of like a sort of female version of like Midnight Express, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Go back and watch that one at some point. We have not covered it on the show. And then lastly, also on August the 13th, in a box office and critical failure at the time turned beloved cult classic, the Kiss-centric Detroit Rock City, starring Edward Furlong, Sam Huntington, Giuseppe Andrews, James DeBello, Lynn Shay, Melanie Linsky, girl of the moment, Natasha Lyonne, big 1999 person, Emmanuel Shakiri, Shannon Tweed, and the members of Kiss. Sounds like you're a Detroit Rock City fan, Tyler.
Yes, my good buddy Eric was a big Kiss fan. Him and his brother, maybe their dad turned them on to Kiss, but they were listening to Kiss as 8-year-olds. Like and for whatever reason, we would have a sleepover, right? We would play the Dreamcast or the PlayStation, and then we'd throw a movie on, and this was the movie one of the nights. I loved it because I knew a little bit of Kiss, and that Detroit Rock City is one of the songs that I loved. Yeah. And I thought it was a fun movie. Again, probably not something 12-year-olds should be watching, but there weren't a ton of rules at the sleepover, so we enjoyed it. I haven't watched it since then, I don't think, but I remember enjoying it.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it once. I don't think I've seen it since then. It's probably around. I'm sure I didn't. I know I didn't see it in theaters. I'm sure I probably saw it like on DVD within a year or two of it coming out. I've never liked Kiss, but I was like, this is an okay movie. Like, it's fun. Like, this is a cute movie. And but since then, a lot of people that I know and love are like, this movie's so good. So it's one of the ones that I've had on the back burner for this podcast. That I'm looking forward to like rediscovering and seeing what I think of it. But I'm worried that I'm going to have like the wrong opinion.
I'm sure it doesn't age well.
It probably doesn't, but like I also like I want to love it, but I don't know if the love has to come from like some real nostalgia or some love of Kiss or like somewhere else. But interested to find out.
I don't know. From what I remember, I don't know if it's so much like you have to love Kiss. I think it's the idea of like being so into a band that you would like ruin your life to go see them live.
Sure.
Totally get that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I'm interested to see what I think when I revisit it, but we will find out. All right. Well, not much going on in the world of television or video games at the time, but we have a couple of interesting stories in the world of music, namely one song that is starting to rise on the charts and will take over the world in due time. We'll get to that in a second. New albums from Alison Krauss, G-Love and Special Sauce, Cool Keith, Guided by Voices, and Hot Water Music. Notable singles on the Billboard Hot 100 include Bills, 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 All-Star, If You Had My Love, I Want It That Way, Last Kiss by Pearl Jam, and in its 9th week at number 1, Genie in a Bottle, the song that would not go away in the summer of 1999. But the one that I want to draw some attention to is new to the Billboard Top 100 chart in August, coming in at number 63 and rising. It would hit number 3 in November, despite the single having been released in April. And that song is Lou Bega's Mambo Number 5.
Now, I haven't heard the first 4 Mambos.
First 4 Mambos?
Will I understand this one?
If I haven't seen Mambos 1 through 4, Lou Bega, of course, the famous, like, I think Italian, Senegalese, German singer, not even a little bit Latin, is Lou Bega, but like spicy. He's spicy. He's like definitely a lot of cool ethnicities going on there. Mama Number 5 was apparently huge in France. It was like number 1 for like 20,000 weeks with the French. So good for it. When I read this, I was like, that's interesting because I remember this song didn't hit my radar until like, I'm going to say like October of that year. So that it hit number 3 in November. I remember going to like parties in the beginning of the year in college in 2000 when I would have been like a sophomore, and this song suddenly being at all the parties. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And it just, then it sort of took over. It was not big in the summer of 99, but it started sort of peaking out in August. I'm not really quite sure like what drove its success, because if you look at the Billboard Top 100 for this month, there's a lot of songs I've just like never heard of. There's never went anywhere. And they made it to like number 12, 13, 14 or whatever, but like no one's ever heard of them. Like they just sort of came and went. And this one is like this like snake in the grass. Like, in a few months, you'll be hearing all about Monica and Rita and the fucking rest of them.
I think that was part of the novelty, right? It was like when you could find your name on a bottle of Coke, and it was clamoring, like I remember exactly. I remember being in school, and it was like a badge of honor if you were in the song. Like if you were a girl, if you were a Jessica or whatever, or whoever.
Oh my God, that's me!
Yeah, it's like, hey! It's like it's about me. It's like It's not. It's a fun little thing.
These
But
two fucking girls named Monica and Jessica were like, guys, you got to listen to the song. This happens so often.
Boy, do I have a song for you.
A little bit of Sandra in the sun. Holy shit!
Mean, it's such a novel. It's it feels like it could only exist in that time. These kind of novelty songs, right?
Yeah,
these horns, this stupid lyrics, these again, novelty. It feels like it could never exist outside of the late '90s, right? When you had all these other kind of songs, but I'm not gonna lie, it comes on. I'm like, yeah, this is kind of a bop.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun when it came out. It was a lot of fun. I mean, and like you didn't know anything about this guy. Like there was no like taint to it. There's no reason to not like it. It was just sort of like this cool, very sort of like earnest, right? Like mambo song, and why the fuck not? We've all just gotten over swing dancing, so like at this point, it's like why not some other ancient form of dance that from some guy we've never heard of. But yeah, what a weird story. I really want to hear, like, someone's got to do a podcast about like how Mambo No. 5 became a hit, because I bet that's
why not you, John? Why not you?
Because I'm busy. I barely can keep up with this bullshit. All right. On to the real world. We're going to start on August the 5th. And on August the 5th, a guy named Benjamin Netanyahu announces that he's retiring from politics after losing the Israeli prime minister's seat the previous month. He accepts a position as a communications consultant, and I assume he just quietly faded off into a low-key private life after that. Never to be heard from again. Two famous retirees of 1999, Benjamin Netanyahu and Liam Neeson, both retired from their respective careers, never to be heard from again.
Didn't one of those guys do a genocide?
One of them did, and one of them did 17 different variations of Taken.
Hey, I love the gray, okay? And he made it. Those wolves let him live.
Yes. Taken with Wolves is one of my favorite Takens. I have to say. Yeah, they're great fucking rules. Also, August the 5th, St. Louis slugger Mark McGwire becomes only the 16th Major League Baseball player to reach the 500-run milestone while cheating, as the Cardinals lose 10-2 versus San Diego at Busch Stadium. We all remember Mark McGwire versus Sammy Sosa, and Mark McGwire hitting 900 jacks a year or whatever, and then turned out to be a big juicer, and we can have that conversation some other time. Mark McGwire was a decent hitter who was on steroids. That's pretty much all he ever was.
Yeah, he was when he made contact, it would go, and
because he was on steroids.
Not to get into the weeds. Yeah, not to get into the weeds about this steroid era, but like, it's so interesting to look back at it now, and we look back at these guys with such disdain. I'm like a big baseball fan, and I love the history of the game, right?
Yep.
And that home run race saved baseball. Baseball was dying. No one gave a shit. And then you get these two roided out monsters hitting 65, 70 home runs, and people are back. And now we look, and it's like, don't put them in the Hall of Fame. It's like, you can't have it both ways. You gotta say, yeah, they cheated, but everyone fucking cheated during that era, and we encouraged it, and it saved baseball. So you know what? We're going to let him in. We're going to let Clemens in. We're going to let all those guys in, because the level playing field was that most dudes were doing it. If you weren't, you're probably in the minority.
So here's my thing, right? And I've had this conversation many times, but like, okay, I agree in general that we ought to think more sort of holistically about the steroid era and like and not just write people off because of the steroids, right? Had Mark McGwire not been on steroids, he would have been a decent hitter, and he would not have hit that many home runs, right? No. And like, does that make him a Hall of Famer? Like, to me, no. I don't think Mark McGwire belongs in the Hall of Fame. Do I think Barry Bonds does? Yeah, probably. Do I think Roger Clemens does? Yes, because if you take away the steroids era of Clemens, he's still, if you just take the pre-steroids Clemens, he's still one of the greatest pitchers of all time, right? Yeah. And the reality is, like, not everybody was doing it, and a lot of players were really good even without the steroids. So like, I agree that we need to not just write off the steroids era as a thing that immediately anybody caught up in it needs to be banned from the hall. That's bullshit. But I do think we can take a more nuanced approach and say, like, okay, like, is this person legitimately a good baseball player even without steroids? I think you can make that case in a lot of cases. To me, Mark McGwire is the one where I'm like, actually, no, like, I don't think he's that good of a player without juicing.
Yeah.
Right. Same with
and it's
Jose
so hard
Canseco.
to know with him when he really started, because
I know,
he
it
came
really
up
is.
and he was huge and he was a monster. So it's like Barry Bonds, there's a clear, this is the season he started doing steroids, because he was in Pittsburgh, scrawny dude, but he was stealing bases, hitting doubles. Like, he was like a doubles guy and a steals guy with the occasional power. And I think he looked at it and said, I'm a better hitter than all these guys.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I'm gonna hit 1 million home runs in a season, and it's just gonna blow up the record book. So I agree with you. We need more of a fine-tooth comb to say what is the innate ability here, and then what is an artificial kind of byproduct of performance-enhancing drugs. And it's hard, and no one wants to have the debate because it's such a black eye on the sport. But it's like, you wouldn't have the sport without this. So.
No, I agree. And like, even, I mean, I remember, something that, what was it? I think it was Bronson Arroyo. I'm pretty sure it was Bronson Arroyo said at one point where he was talking about like guys who got caught for PEDs. And he's like, here's the thing. Like, we have trainers who just tell us to take supplements and we have no idea what's in them. They like put creams on us that probably have steroids. We just don't even know. And like, I just think a lot of these guys who are getting caught, like, genuinely don't know that they're doing anything. And
for sure, I think there is, I think you look at a guy like, I'm a Yankee fan, so I'm a little biased, but Andy Pettitte is a guy who says, basically, I use this to recover more quickly, right? I didn't use this to get an edge. And again, you could take it with a grain of salt, because who knows what the actual intentions are. But I do think there are guys who were, again, told this will get you back quicker than a traditional rehab, right?
David Ortiz. Yeah,
exactly. Like, you don't, again, you're not a medical professional. You don't know what you're putting in your body. You should. But again, you're relying on the team physicians and the medical staff who are telling you, do this. And to only to find out later on, like, actually, it was a banned substance. So it's such a murky, gray kind of area.
It is.
And it's a shame, because, we have these all-time talents that are just tainted by this. And who knows, like, they're all coming off the ballots for the Hall of Fame. So they may end up there someday off of like the Veterans Committee or whatever. But it's tough, because the sport was in a really bad place, and due to these guys becoming roided out monsters, it's thriving today. Well, I don't know, thriving, but it's alive today.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly a difference between someone like Rafael Palmeiro and Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, right? Like, and other, like, there's clearly a spectrum here, like with people like Andy Pettitte on it. But anyway, Mark McGwire, all right, decent hitter, but that's about it. But speaking of good hitters, August 6th, Tony Gwynn goes 4 for 5 and collects his 3,000th MLB hit as San Diego beats the Expos. Remember them? 12-10 at Olympic Stadium in Montreal. Tony Gwynn, one of the best pure hitters in the history of baseball. R.I.P. Tony Gwynn. And then August the 7th, Tampa Bay third baseman and notorious beer drinker Wade Boggs becomes the first MLB player to hit a home run for his 3,000th hit in Devil Rays' 15-10 loss to Cleveland Indians. There's another good example. Wade Boggs, before he had his second run with the Tampa Bay Rays, where he probably was doing some substances to keep himself afloat into like his late 30s, is a guy who you do not need any of that to get him into the Hall of Fame just with his Red Sox career, right? Like, that's all you need for Wade Boggs.
And I remember the big controversy, right? Because Tampa pretty much hired him as a mercenary to go into the Hall of Fame as a Devil Ray. And the MLB was like, absolutely not. That ain't happening.
What are you talking about?
Not make a mark as a Devil Ray. You are a Red Sox.
Forever.
You can't just do that. You can't buy a guy to put your dumb logo on his Hall of Fame plaque and call it a career. That's not how any of this works.
Yeah, I grew up with Wade Boggs as a Red Sox fan as like the weird, lovable asshole, and like, who's just like fantastic to watch play, but like just such a fucking weirdo. Like, what a fucking weirdo that guy is.
I mean, obviously, as a Yankee fan, I remember him on the horse after the '96 World Series, and I thought that was, I loved that moment, man. Again, not really knowing anything about him as a child, as an 8-year-old. I thought that was so cool. He's just like, "Can I get on this horse?" And they just took a lap, and I thought that was awesome. So, like the childlike wonder of, "Can I ride this horse right now?"
Anyway, McGwire and Gwynn and Boggs. There's 3 1990s baseball icons for you. 3 days in a row. August the 9th, a scandal emerges as Star Trek actor William Shatner returns home to find his wife, Nerine Kidd, laying dead in their backyard swimming pool at the age of 40. An autopsy reveals that she overdosed on alcohol and diazepam. The former model and aspiring actress who had two drunk driving convictions and had been treated several times for alcoholism had a blood alcohol level of 0.27%, more than 3 times the legal limit for driving, according to an autopsy released after her death. There was a lot of tabloid speculation that William Shatner had murdered his wife and all this other shit, but apparently no, she just had a very bad drinking and substance abuse problem. He was out of town, she died, and he was broken over it, apparently. And the tabloids calling him a murderer didn't actually help him too much, but I remember that very well, and that fucking sucked. So
yeah, that's a shame. And to, like, you're grieving loss of your wife, it's really troubled, and they're like, yeah, but maybe you killed her.
Yeah,
like, could you imagine
William
the worst moment of your life? It's like, but maybe you killed her.
Well, it's also clear that Shatner's alcoholism and like his own alcohol problem got worse after that as well, and yeah, it's a big fucking mess. But yeah, that sucked. And fuck you, the National Enquirer, and so forth, and whatever.
The muckrakers.
Sucks. Speaking of shitty people, August the 9th, Russian President Boris Yeltsin fires his prime minister, Sergei Stepashin, and for the 4th time fires his entire cabinet. He appoints FSB director Vladimir Putin, grandson of the personal cook to Vladimir Lenin, and 2 others as his new prime ministers, and announces that he would support Putin to succeed him. And again, another guy who we just don't know what happened to after that.
Faded into obscurity.
Coincidentally, Putin's father, Vladimir Putin Sr., would die a few days later. So maybe that impacted his mental state.
I heard Shatner killed him.
Yes, Shatner's wife killed him and then killed herself out of shame.
Yeah. That's murder-suicide. It happens all the time.
Really happened. Yeah. So boy, wow, 2 of the shittiest people on earth had a hell of an August 1999, it turns out. One retired forever, never to be heard from again, and the other one got appointed to be the new one of 3 new prime ministers. Not quite sure how that worked, and then we have not been able to get rid of him in the 25 years since. But he sucks. Anyway, August the 11th, American rock group Kiss, speaking of Kiss, receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and 2 days later, the aforementioned Detroit Rock City hits theaters. So
good promotion.
It is. I actually think that was intentional. I vaguely remember this, and then like tying in the premiere of Detroit Rock City into like them receiving the star on the Walk of Fame. But there you go. All right. Up your alley, August the 13th, a whole bunch of people dress up in Phantom Menace costumes to attend the 32nd San Diego Comic-Con International at the San Diego Convention Center, where I will be presenting in a couple months. I'll tell you more about that
nice.
At some point. I'll be at the San Diego Convention Center presenting in November. So there you go. Awesome. Guests for that Comic-Con include Mouse creator Art Spiegelman, Batman the Animated Series creators Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, composer and Devo member Mark Mothersbaugh, who also appeared in Mystery Men, Hellboy creator Mark Mignola, and the recently canceled monster Neil Gaiman. So, cool.
What did he do?
You don't know about this? Are you not following the Neil Gaiman story, or are you just being sarcastic?
No, I'm so here's the thing. I'm sure Heather knows about it. Heather was inspired to get into comics by Sandman. So I hope she's aware, because I'm sure she knows. And I'm sure, again, art, not artist, but I have no idea. I'm not well read. I'm barely literate. So I definitely don't know.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy. It's pretty bad. Yeah, so Neil Gaiman, it turns out, like, lots of sexual assault allegations coming out against him lately. But just today also seems like he's like involved in like prostitution,
That's a
perhaps
twist.
underage prostitution.
Oh,
It's like,
no.
yeah, it's bad. It's real bad.
Oof.
It's real bad. I mean, look, anybody who's married to Amanda Palmer is a suspect person as far as I'm concerned. This is like, honestly, among, like, I love Neil Gaiman's work. But I'd always kind of heard the rumors that he was like not someone you want to be left in a room with. But yeah, he's a few months ago, a few women came forward with some allegations. Someone who is close to him, who did a thread on Blue Sky just today, who is sort of revealing some of the prostitution rumors that she knows firsthand about. It's bad. It's real bad. So anyway, never like anybody because they all suck.
Yes, pretty much. Don't put your faith in anyone because everyone's a monster.
But the rest of that crew sounds awesome. We had like the typical the Stan Lees and so on and so forth, of course, showing up to sign autographs and that sort of thing. But I'd love to meet Paul Dini and Bruce Timm. I have not seen the new Batman the Animated Series thing on I think it's on Max that just came out.
I think so. Yeah, I haven't checked it out either, but I've heard some good things.
I've heard fantastic things about it.
Yeah, my one buddy is a big Batman the Animated Series guy, and it's Kevin Conroy's not in this one, right? This is
no, I don't think so. No, yeah, I think no, it's Hamish Linklater plays Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, there's something that I'm such a like when I think Batman, I think the animated series. I think Kevin Conroy, just that was in my wheelhouse. I remember getting home from school and that was on after Dragon Ball Z, and that was my power hour right there. Get the Dragon Ball Z for the anime, get the Batman animated series. I was peak television for a 10-year-old, right? But I've heard it's good, but I feel like it'd be so weird to watch and know that it's not him.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for a time to like sit down by myself and actually digest it. But everything about it screams up my alley. So I will be back with my opinion on that at some point in the near future. August the 13th, the Pentagon announces that U.S. troops will receive more training on tolerance for LGBTQ people, probably due to something that I talked about in the last episode, which happened on July 6th, was the murder of Army Private Barry Winchell, where he was murdered by two of his fellow soldiers for being in a relationship with a transgender woman. So this is like part of the beginning of the kind of unraveling of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which is only a few years old at this point, but like there's a series of events starting in like 1999 going throughout the 2000s of the military struggling to like make this thing work and like continuing to like figure out that they just have to like treat people like human beings.
What a concept.
And, like that's easier, and this is one of them. But there is available, so they have a little pamphlet about how to like treat your what they call homosexual colleagues in like comic book form, which you can look online and find, and it's quite funny. Sure I mean, funny in that like sad, like really this is for grown-ups kind of way, but yeah, it's pretty great.
Well, look how far we come. At least we're still not debating these issues today.
Exactly.
At least everyone has rights now. Oh.
Yes. At least no one gets accused of being a transgender woman, even when they are just a cisgender woman who you just don't like the look of because know they could punch the shit out of you. And
definitely not.
I hope Imani Khalif gets J.K. Rowling's castle and Twitter. That's what I hope happens.
I hope she cleans it when she gets it. Cleans the black mold off.
Fucking assholes. All right, we're gonna leave off with August the 14th. We have a few bits of business to take care of here on August the 14th. Pee Wee Reese, American baseball legend with the Boston Red Sox and member of the MLB Hall of Fame, dies of lung cancer at the age of 81. So last little bit of baseball trivia there for you. This was really interesting. Yard sale like it's 1999. Prince, then known as the artist formerly known as Prince, holds a weekend yard sale at his Paisley Park studios, with part of the proceeds going to benefit underprivileged youth. Now, there's not a lot about this online, but if you go to the official Prince website, some Prince fans have shared their memories of going to this yard sale. The thing that seems to be overwhelmingly best remembered is that the line to get into it was like around several blocks and took fucking forever. But there are some people who are like, yeah, but I got some like really fucking cool, like rare recordings on tape for like not very much money. And then there was a bunch of like random like Prince furniture that was like ungodly expensive that they couldn't afford or whatever. But like, there's no real news articles about this. There is just a bunch of like random people being like, oh yeah, I went to that.
It's probably only advertised in like the classified ads or whatever.
It's quite funny to read people's like vague memories of this thing.
Like, was he there? Was he just like, oh yeah, that's $2.99?
I don't think he was there.
What's the point?
Well, I know that a lot of this, like I know that this is of course like the reason why he went by the artist formerly known as Prince is because he was in a dispute with his record label, and I know there's a whole bunch of like financial issues going on at the time, need to like liquidate stuff, and I'm not sure like why he sold off all this shit and then gave the money to charity, but I think a lot of it had to do with like he was trying to not allow someone who was trying to claim part of his estate, and was just being like, fuck it, I'm just gonna like sell it and give it to charity so you don't get it. That sort of thing. So anyway, yeah, it's very little is known about this actual event, but there are breadcrumbs of it on the internet if you look fast enough.
I feel like that's a documentary that has to be made. With all the streaming services, somebody has to just do a deep dive into this and come up with a witty title and give us the Prince yard sale documentary.
Yard sale like it's 1999. Expose. The story of the Prince yard sale.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, shit, people have made podcasts and documentaries about dumber stuff, so why the fuck not? And they've often able to turn it into something interesting somehow. Yeah. All right. Two more pieces of information, and then we are wrapping up. Dilbert cartoonist and giant pile of shit Scott Adams releases a new independent food product called the Dilberito. I'm not making this up. A vegetarian frozen burrito that comes in 4 flavors: Mexican, Indian, barbecue, and garlic and herb. It was discontinued in 2003 in what many consider to be the real 9/11. So, and by many, I mean Scott Adams.
That caught me off guard. That was great.
Dilberito. What a fucking weird piece of shit that guy is.
Vaguely, like somewhere in my memory, I've heard that or seen it or something, and I'm like, I wish I didn't remember it at all.
The actual boxes are just fucking wild.
Like, I gotta look up. I gotta find this to the internet.
It's just like crazy fucking like vaguely Mexican font with like Dilbert.
I typed in DILBE and it was the second listing. So this must be, oh my God, it's so 90s, like early 2000s. It's beautiful.
It's the worst.
Oh, every letter is a different color and font.
Different font.
This is bonkers.
It's amazing.
This is something else.
It looks like fucking baby vomit. It just looks like the least appetizing thing you could ever fucking eat. What is this guy? Jesus Christ.
Is there correlation to the comic strip? Like, is he eating this shit at work?
No, it's just what fucking Scott Adams, who's a weird motherfucker. Like, this is the shit that he likes. And he's,
a weird motherfucker.
God damn it.
Oh,
there's a YouTube special about the Dilberito called "Worst Food Ever?" ? The suspicious history of the Dilberito. So you can probably I'm sure lots of people have spent a lot of time talking about the Dilberito. Yeah, I also recommend if you haven't listened to it, Robert Evans Behind the Bastards. He did like a 3-part on Scott Adams, and like what a fucking weird ass dude that guy is. Yeah, giant fascist loser. So
yep, pretty much.
Wow. Anyhow, Dilbert. And then lastly,
how do you segue from the Dilberito? Let's see you do it.
Ending this episode also on August the 14th of 1999. Award eligible 1999. The podcast host John Brooks turns 20 on August the 14th, 1999. I did it. I made it to 20, and then had no idea what hell awaited me in the 20.
And he was also never heard from again. No,
I was never heard from again. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. 20th birthday. There you go. And not much happened August 15th, so we're gonna leave that one out, and I don't care. But second half of August is pretty good. But there you go. That's the first half of August of 1999. Great movies, and some names cross the newswire that will become important later.
That is the understatement of the century. My goodness.
And by that, I mean, of course, Wade Boggs and Scott Adams.
Yes, clearly. Wade Boggs still shaping policy today, you know?
Yeah. All right. So how you feeling, Tyler? How was that trip down memory lane?
You know, it was a cool trip down memory lane, but it also reminds me how much I need to experience from this year still. Because even this month, there's so many things where I'm like, I got to check that out, or I got to rewatch that. And it's like, wow, this is 2 weeks in August from the whole year. So it really shows how much material there is for this year. And I'm just glad to be on the only podcast to ever cover it.
The only one?
The only one allowed to cover
it. Yeah. We have copyrighted the year. No one's allowed to talk about it in any capacity. And if you do, you owe me like $10. So
it's incredible work.
That's the law. Anything you want to plug before we go?
I'll plug Heather's stuff.
Sure.
Always, Heather is a lovely artist in her own right and a fabulous comic book editor at IDW, handling the Star Trek line. So give her a follow on Twitter. I'm not calling it X because it's Twitter.
Nope, we never do. It's show policy to not call it. It's the only thing we dead name is Twitter.
I will dead name that forever. She is at Heather Antos on Instagram and Twitter. She also has her art account on Instagram at Heather Artos. And I'm on social media as That Tyler. So come check me out for all the reposting of dank leftist memes.
If you're interested in going to San Diego in November, my other show, Pod Only Knows, with Kelly J. Baker, we are going to be appearing at the American Academy of Religion's annual meeting at the San Diego Convention Center. On November the 25th, we'll be talking about religion podcasting, that other thing I do when I'm not doing this show. So,
I thought this was the religious one.
No, this is this is the secular.
Oh, this is the movie and other stuff. Oh, shit. Well,
it's a religion to me. Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. Congrats. That's
it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Looking forward to it. I just bought my plane tickets out there. So if you live in that part of the world, come see us and stuff. You can email us here at 1999@cageclub.me. You can check out other shows at cageclub.me. You can find me on social media at Probably Real JB. You can find the show on social media at 1999 Podcast on all of the different various social media stuff. And we'll be back in a few days, actually, to have a look at Woodstock 99. That's going to be a fun one. And we'll be back to covering movies in the near future. So stay tuned for more updates as far as that goes. But in the meantime, Tyler, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you so much for joining me again. The rest of you, look out for frogs.
A little bit of Monica in my life, a little bit of Erica by my side, a little bit of Rita's all I need, a little bit of Tina's what I see, a little bit of Sandra in the sun, a little bit of Mary all night long. Jessica, here I am. A little bit of you makes me your man.